All right. I want to talk about misconceptions about mindfulness. Y'all know I talk about mindfulness all the time. Mindfulness practices are a game changer for me. They keep me grounded. But there are misconceptions, I think, about what mindfulness means and then what it can do for you or what it's supposed to do for you and what that looks like. So on one hand, I think there's this misconception that people that want to meditate or do that like woo-woo stuff, which the fact that breathing and meditating are kind of disregarded in that way is still wild to me. But there's this idea that people kind of doing that are like not in touch with reality. Like, oh, I'm just like floating on a cloud because I meditate every morning and la 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 la. Like, I don't get anxious, nothing bothers me. That's not my experience. I practice meditation and gratitude practices and mindful movement and a lot of other things at some capacity every day in some way, shape, or form. And yes, these practices are crucial to me being able to get through the hard stuff. But it doesn't mean that I'm like, la la la, flitting around, and that means nothing bothers me, or that it makes it this perfect world, right? I think there's a understanding I've taken with life that there is just going to be shit thrown at you, right? Like you don't arrive at this place ever where things are perfect, because when you get to your next goal, your next accomplishment, or where you thought you'd be, new stuff comes up, right? That's kind of the game that we're playing here in late stage capitalism. We are trying to survive a lot of times, and mindfulness practices for me, and I think for you, should be a way to deal with that, not to tune out from it. It's actually the opposite. Being more mindful is being able to take those things that we know are a reality. When I'm recording this, there is so much going on in the world right now. There is so much hate and misinformation on the internet about war and peace and what's going on all over this globe. And that's reality. Like that is what's going on. The climate crisis and gender inequality, and those are things that we are dealing with. So rather than thinking that mindfulness will make it so those things like somehow go away, just thinking of them as a practice to make it more bearable to deal with, to give you a foundation that feels stable, so you can not only just be working to survive in these systems, but that you can actually then pay that forward, right? Then you can actually make that ripple effect. They allow me to show up in the world. So being mindful, you don't have to disregard it as this thing that's like whatever, that's just this woo-woo practice that that girl on Instagram talks about, right? These are actually tools. Talking about real practices you can do to help you be more mindful are tools to help you survive the world. We are taught so often to think about our physical health, and that's really important and alive for another day. But this week was World Mental Health Day. Mindfulness practices keep us surviving and push us to thriving. But you have to do the work, right? Like, it's not just meditating one morning and then being mad because everything didn't get better. Things will get easier. You can deal with all of the big things in the world and the things in your world easier, but you have to make it a practice. You have to make it just as commonplace as brushing your teeth before going to bed or whatever it is. Explore with what mindfulness practices can do for you, and also different ones. If you are not going to do yoga asana and do the physical movements, try something else. Try breath work, try journaling, try gratitude, try guided audio meditations. There are so many things you can explore that keep you grounded and keep you connected and keep you able to do all of the other things that I know you want to do with your life. You have goals, you have dreams. What if the kind of secret sauce to making a lot of those a reality is by taking care of how you see the world? and becoming more mindful in how you show up and practicing mindfulness so you can return to that when the parts of the world that are there get really scary and overwhelming and you feel really lost. If you have a foundation of practices to go back on, it's actually keeping you connected to those more. It is a privilege to not have to deal with things and to not know what's going on. So it is imperative, if you can, to learn about what's going on in our world right now and how you can show up. But that shit is hard. I'm not saying it's always going to be easy, right? Like, I think it's imperative, and I'm also telling you that sometimes it's work. And that's where this mindfulness piece comes in for me, and I think for a lot of the people I work with and a lot of others that I talk with about practicing mindfulness practices, is that there is this kind of element to it being the thing that all things come from, right? Having a foundation for which you can stand on stably is the jumping off point for all of the things that you want to do, all of the goals, all of the ways you want to change the world. If it is the climate crisis, if it is the environment, if it is institutionalized racism, I mean, pick something that you could want to work on in this world. It's all connected to mindfulness because it's all connected to being more mindful and being more aware and not tuning out, but actually tuning in and figuring out how you can make a difference, and not in a way that makes you so overwhelmed that you just give up in 5 seconds. That's where the personal practices come in, right? That is why I talk about mindfulness so often, just as often as I talk about sustainability and going vegan or eating a plant-based diet, because they're all connected. Mindfulness has so much to do with what you can do in the world, how you can show up, how you can take care of yourself, how you can take care of the people in your life. So don't write it off. Don't write it off as this woo-woo thing that you're above because you're too cool for. It could be the key to living a more conscious life for you. It sounds so dramatic, but it is when I really understood these practices to be something I can't give up, something I can't let go of. Even on my worst days, if I do one thing, if I write in my gratitude journal, I know it will help, even if I don't feel it in that moment. So give yourself that gift. Try and find, and if this is overwhelming to you, if you're like, yeah, I get it, that's why I'm here. That's why being a conscious living coach is so important to me, because I think more people want to show up and make a difference and do more, but we're overwhelmed and we don't know how. And in the systems we live in, we're not often taught to think that we can make a difference, even in our own lives, right? A breath practice can change your day. And if you can do something like that on an individual level and change your day, imagine what you can do with all the time you're saving not being anxious and freaking out, right? So I just want to remind you that you're not too cool for mindfulness. Mindfulness is a gift. It is a gift for you to be able to tune in and connect to the world in a way that you might otherwise not. So if you have mindfulness practices that you rely on, I would love for you to share those in the comments. I'm always curious to hear what people do to kind of stay in that mindfulness game, right? And if this is new to you and it's something you want to explore, please reach out to me. This is the stuff I love. As you can see, I get passionate about it because it's not a way to tune out. It's a way to tune in and to do better and to feel better. And you freaking deserve that. You don't deserve it less than anyone. We all deserve that. You deserve that. Give yourself that gift and see what happens. What's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen by trying to live more mindfully? Try it.